You just picked up the phone and a video popped up. Make crispy chicken in 3 minutes with an air fryer. Comments below. My life has changed. I use it every day. Your inner voice says, I want to be that person too. 3 days later, the air fryer is in the kitchen, the treadmill has become a clothes rack in the living room, and the blender is at the very back of the cupboard. And your brain says, I sold you not the product, but the dream. Now pay attention. You actually didn't buy an air fryer. You bought this. The version that lives healthily, the version that exercises, the possibility of being an organized person. The system in the brain that we call dopamine rises not when using the product, but at the moment of deciding to purchase it. That's why you're happy when adding the treadmill to the cart, excited when looking at the dumbbell set, and feel motivated when buying a smoothie blender. Because the brain says, this item will make you better, but this is just a simulation. So, why don't we use it? Because the reality begins the moment the product arrives. And reality says this. The treadmill, it's hard to get on. The air fryer, it needs cleaning. The blender, take it out, wash it, put it away. Who's going to bother with that? The brain immediately calculates. This is not as easy as I thought. And here, a critical break occurs. Dopamine drops, motivation collapses. The result is a treadmill, a clothes hanger, dumbbells, decor, a robot vacuum, a guest waiting on charge, a waffle maker, a nostalgia that comes out once a year. When someone says to you, you spent money on these but don't use them, you get angry, don't you? Because this is not a criticism. It touches your identity. When you bought that item, you said, I am someone who exercises now. You said, I will eat healthily. You said, I am an organized person. And when someone comes and questions this, the amygdala perceives it as a threat and puts you on the defensive. I will use it, I just got it. That was going to be necessary anyway, dear. But the truth is, what you're angry at is not that person, but the power that item holds up to you. So, were our ancestors like this too? Yes, but they had no excuses. They wanted more convenience. Imagine a woman in a cave. I wish I could cook faster. I wish I could get less tired, she was saying. And what was she doing? She was making tools out of stone. She was making tools from wood, but the difference is they didn't have the option not to use them, because if they didn't use them, they would go hungry. That's why they made them. So what about us? If we don't use the air fryer, we make toast. If we don't use the treadmill, we sit on the couch. So there's no risk. That's why the brain isn't challenged. Now, I'll tell you one technique to free yourself from the regret of buying these items. The technique of breaking the connection with the item. Most people do this. I'll use it tomorrow. I'll be organized from now on. But this doesn't work. Instead, connect the item not with an identity, but with a moment. For example, the treadmill only when talking on the phone. The air fryer only on Sundays, the blender only at breakfast. In other words, don't spread the item throughout your life. Fix it to a moment. Do you know why this works? Because the brain postpones vague plans and responds to clear triggers. With this technique, the burden of decision making is eliminated and behavior becomes automatic. And that item no longer becomes an object of guilt, but turns into a tool that is used. Now, look around you.